Hi, this is Elena with Black Sheep 303 Creative, and today's project is for Elizabeth Craft Designs Designers Challenge. We were asked to find a Technique Friday with Elle's video to use as an inspiration for our card. So I'm actually going to be stamping this with some brand new stamps. They're not quite out yet when I'm publishing this video, but they will be soon. It's called Fashions 2. And I'm going to be stamping those onto some Elizabeth Craft Designs watercolor paper in the VersaFine Onyx black ink, and then I'm going to emboss the images. Now the watercolor paper is cold press watercolor paper, so it has a rougher side and a smoother side, and I am stamping onto the smoother side of the paper. In the video that Elle's made, she used like a 2-layer die cut owl. So for the first layer she used the watercolor paper, and then for the detailed layer she cut that out of black and adhered them together, and then used distress inks to color the image, kind of using the black detail layer as sort of barrier lines between the sections as she watercolored them. Well, since I don't have that because I'm using stamps, I decided what I would do is use the embossing powder to kind of create my own barrier lines, hence why I am embossing the images. Now I'm using water, and I'm using my water brush, although it does not have water in it. And then I'm going to be using some distress inks. Now to start off with, I'm going to use tumbled glass, and to be honest, you don't need tumbled glass. I thought I would be like really smart and do like, oh, tumbled glass is the light shade and then Mermaid Lagoon is the dark shade. Well, you know, had I thought about it, watercolor really, you can create shading just by using less water. So turns out I could have done the whole thing with Mermaid Lagoon, and you will see me do the top with just Mermaid Lagoon for the very same effect. So don't even bother with tumbled glass if you want to replicate this. Just go straight to Mermaid Lagoon, and then add more ink and less water to areas that you want darker, and then use water to draw it out and kind of fill in the area to lighten it up as you move away from that portion where you've put the ink. And kind of coloring it in with water all the way down will help prevent you from getting like strange water lines, if you will. Like here you're going to see I'm going to use Mermaid Lagoon. I'm just going to put in a little bit, and then I'm going to take clear water and just draw it out up into the rest of that halter top, and it will create the color, the base color and the shading kind of all in one. So I could have just used the one ink the whole time. And then I'm going to go to Picked Raspberry. Picked Raspberry is going to be my sort of accent color, if you will, for my fashions here today. So I have wet the paper first, and then I'm putting in just a little bit of Picked Raspberry. It's a very strong color, so I wanted to kind of start light and layer up, which is exactly what I'm doing. So I'm adding more color to kind of get it stronger. Shoes are a little bit tough to shade correctly, but I did try a little bit. And then the handbag also gets some good color, and it will have a little more shading. So you can see I'm going to kind of base coat it, and then I'm going to get more ink, like a base coat on the rose there, and then I'm going to add more ink to sort of the area under the flap of the handbag to add more color and give it like some more shading, if you will. And then I'm going to kind of pull out the color on the flap with water to lighten that up. So there's a little more shading on the handbag and a tiny bit more here on the shoe. And I will wind up doing a second shoe, but I'm going to color it exactly the same way. So you won't see me do that, but it'll be there in the end. And I guess I'm getting off the screen because I think I was doing the handbag strap, which is very skinny. And I did get outside the lines on that. And now I'm just adding more color to add a little bit of shading to the flower there that's going to go on the dress. And I did want to mention that one of my favorite things for fixing mistakes when I go outside the lines is a white glaze pen. I use that all the time, and I did use that on this. So don't tell anybody, but yeah, that's a really easy way to make it look like you did it perfect. Anyway. So for my flowers, I'm actually going to use 2 colors, and this is Squeezed Lemonade that I'm base coating the flowers with on the dress. I wanted them to be really, really vibrant, so if I had just used squeezed lemonade is the only color. But then by the time I kind of used water to pull it out and lighten it, it seemed like it would be too light. So now I'm adding mustard seed as the shading in the flowers. And it's kind of subtle, but it is there. And then I will take some squeezed lemonade and sort of soften down the shading a little bit to get it to be a little more blended. And it is fairly subtle. Like, it dries lighter than what you see it now, so it's kind of subtle, but you can see it if you really look at it. And I think it adds a nice subtle dimension. And then I'm putting squeezed lemonade on the handbag, and then I will use the mustard seed for the clasp, and there's like a little detail on the strap. And then I'm going to do 2 colors for the leaves too on this. So same deal, Twisted Citron is my base color, so it's pretty light. As you can see, it's almost, you barely can't see it when there's too much water. So it wouldn't have really worked to kind of use it as the shading and the overall color, because just the solid color is basically light enough just all by itself. And then to lighten it more with water wouldn't have made sense. So I'm adding Mowed Lawn as the shading. And the two together make a really nice, really vibrant kind of lime green, which was what I was going for. So I'm using Mermaid Lagoon again on the sunglasses, and then I will use it on the last little stripe on the bag. So, this is a fully coordinated outfit. Must be, And I'm just blotting up a little area where I got outside the lines. That's another thing you can do. I just add water and then blot it, and that works pretty well too. Now this is black soot that I'm adding to the sunglass lenses. I'm not sure this is necessary because I did wind up going over this with a black glaze pen to make them shinier. So I'm not sure I needed that base coat with the black soot. Now my phrase is from the also brand new set, Fashionable Phrases. And it is be bold, be brave, be bold, be you. And I'm going to treat it the same way as the rest of the stamp. So I am stamping it on the watercolor paper and heat embossing it in the black embossing powder. And then I will use the squeezed lemonade, the picked raspberry, and the Mermaid Lagoon to color in each letter of the U, so it coordinates with the rest of the color scheme for the card. And then I'll trim it down. And so these are my components. I cut out the fashions with the matching dies. And now I have cut this cute polka dot circle with the Stitch Circles die set. It's the second largest die in that. And I'm going to stick it on the back of a 5x5 inch card base cut from 100-pound Elizabeth Craft Designs soft finish cardstock in white. And I've already added 6mm adhesive to the back of that, as well as this. I did offset the sentiment with a piece of perfect pink soft finish cardstock, and I added sparkle marker to the rose and stuck that to the dress with a little bit of foam tape. And now the rest of the items I'm adhering down with 3mm double-sided adhesive tape. And now I'm going to add some color coordinated sequins with my liquid adhesive. And it just seemed like I needed to have some sequins on like a fashion card. Gotta have the little extra bling, especially with our fashion, right? And I just thought it was super cute, and had to have that little extra to finish it off. And now I had a few areas where I couldn't quite get the tape because some things are really skinny, like the heels on the shoes and the strap on the dress. So I did take a Zig 2E glue pen and just kind of reinforce the adhesive on those areas to really get them to stick down. And I was feeling like something was kind of missing, like the dress needed something extra. So I grabbed my glossy accents and I decided to put glossy accents over all of the yellow flowers on the dress. And although that might be a little strange and not realistic on an actual dress on the card, it added just the right amount of shine to the dress to kind of call attention to itself and really sort of finish it off correctly. And so I was very happy with how the whole thing turned out, and that is the completed project. And you can see how easy it is to watercolor with distress inks, and it's very basic watercoloring, but super easy and pretty inexpensive overall. So if you're like a beginning watercolor person, I would say try it. It's really easy and really fun. So I hope you liked the video. Thanks so much for watching. You can find a link to the blog post with all of the designers' projects in the video description, as well as supplies. You can also find more from me at my blog, blacksheep303.com. If you liked the video, I'd love it if you give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please subscribe. I love new subscribers. And I'd love to hear from you, so leave me a comment. Thanks so much. Have a great day.